Hello and welcome to a new thoughts video here on Mole Under Management. My name is Chaosmole and today we have Company of Heroes 3, the multiplayer beta. And I have put in about 20 hours into a multiplayer test and I have a lot of thoughts on what is happening to the game. What you're seeing here in the background is some live footage of me playing the game for the very first time. So if you think, man, you were doing a lot of mistakes here and oh my god, how do you even survive this? It's because this is I think you're seeing here the third game. I quickly advanced afterwards, but it was still very interesting. And as I said, I have a lot of thoughts about Company of Heroes 3 right now, and they are not all positive, at least when it comes to the multiplayer. The one thing I really want to make clear right from the get-go is I'm normally not the Company of Heroes player. I have played 1 and 2 a little bit, but I'm mostly playing Dawn of War. Like, Dawn of War is where I have put hundreds and hundreds of hours in it. Now, the good news is that Dawn of War and Company of Heroes 3 are by the same developer, and they are relatively similar gameplay-wise. But I'm not a veteran. I have not thousands of hours in this game. And I know what you might think. Oh, Mo, but I want to hear from the professionals. That is completely fine, but I also think it's important to hear from the new players so that they can give you a good opinion on how they feel this works for them. Because let's be real here, nobody is starting out as a veteran player. Everyone starts out as a noob. And it is really important how a noob feels when it comes to the gameplay, right? And again, I have a lot of thoughts there. One other thing I want to mention, and this is the graphics. I have seen a lot of people complaining about the graphics and saying, oh my god, look at the graphics, they are looking so shitty. I see where people are getting this from, especially still shots in Company of Heroes 3 look a little bit weird. And by the way, if I ever say Call of Duty instead of Company of Heroes 3, it's a weird thing in my head. Ignore it, please. I mean Company of Heroes 3, of course. But it looks really good when it is in motion, and more importantly, when things explode. Like, there's a lot of destruction in this game. You can completely pick the map apart with explosions, with like tanks and other things which can make big holes into the ground, but they can also destroy the environment. I saw like artillery barrages picking apart like railwork networks. It looks absolutely insane and really good. Like, this game looks really good when things explode, and I think that's why maybe the environment looks a little bit lackluster, because we have a lot of physics and a lot of destruction in this game. But in my opinion, in motion and with a lot of things exploding, the game looks really good. But now, let's talk about the gameplay. Let's talk about the balance. I have played against the AI and of course against players, but mostly against players. I have tried to play against the AI. The problem was that the AI is absolutely cheating. The AI is omnipotent, and it is so obvious and annoying that at some point I just couldn't stomach it anymore. Like, the AI is omnipotent. They know basically everything which is happening on the map. They can control all the units at once, which, of course, they're an AI, they can do that. But it becomes really obvious when the AI starts to avoid your mortar shells before they even hit the ground. I was like, oh, come on, you don't see them. And you are telling me that you can just zigzag those mortar shells? Or it gets even more obvious and even more annoying, and it clearly shows here that the AI is basically cheating at that point, is when one of your infantry squads is running up to a tank and they are preparing a sticky grenade. So they are throwing the sticky grenade, and the moment that sticky grenade appears on the screen, even just 1 pixel, the AI tank will floor the gas, drive backwards, and is trying to evade the sticky grenade. The thing is, that is not possible. You can't evade those sticky grenades. The moment they are on their way, they are like a homing missile. You can evade them before you throw them at the enemy, but you cannot evade them when they are on their way. And the AI is still trying to do it anyways, because they have been programmed to avoid everything which is like exploding on the map, right? But it becomes so obvious and it's so annoying that they're even trying it with a grenade which cannot be evaded when it is on its way. Like, playing against the AI is no fun. It totally is no fun. And I cannot recommend it right now in its current state. So I played a lot against other players. And when you play against other players, it gets much better. If you play against other people who have around the same knowledge as you have, which was problematic in the multiplayer beta, especially over the weekend. You just had tons of people who have hundreds, if not thousands of hours in Company of Heroes already, and you cannot compete with that. Like, the matchmaking was just not there. And it sometimes could go the other way, right? When I played against people who are complete noobs, who have never played Dawn of War, who have never played any of the Company of Heroes games, and they totally don't know what they are doing, like not even a little bit, and you just stomp them, right? But the game becomes really fun the moment you are meeting people who have the same knowledge and the same skill level if you have. Like, it's just so fun to watch all the explosions, the fighting going on. You still have to do some tactical decisions here and there, but there is still a lot of time where you can just watch the carnage unfold on the battlefield, and it looks really, really cool, right? So that was definitely the time where I had the most fun with it. But there is a problem. And this is the biggest problem right now, because the game is coming out soon, and in my opinion, the game is not ready. It's the balance. I don't know who is overlooking the balance right now, but it is, especially the Africa core, unbelievable bad. I admit I made a mistake. I choose the British and I choose the artillery forces. That's the stuff I started with. And everyone is agreeing that this is basically the hardest thing you can start with. So that's on me, right? Because they're playing very different, they have a very different focus, and direct fights with the enemy is not necessarily their strength, right? So that's on me. But even with that said, the Africa core are just unbelievable overpowered. Like, not only do they start with an insane scout unit, so you can build right at the beginning for pretty cheap money, or pretty cheap resources, not money, but pretty cheap resources, a motorbike. And that thing is so fast that no other unit can keep up at the beginning. So it's already great for scouting. But the crazy part is that motorbike can actually capture points. So you can just zigzag over the whole battlefield the whole time with the motorbike and capture all the points you need. And the enemy cannot keep up, and the enemy does not, or the other players do not have an equivalent for that. It's insane. And then you think, okay, well, it's a early scout unit. I mean, that's fixable, right? It doesn't end there. Like as I said, especially Africa Corps is just sending out vehicles all the time, and they're getting stronger and stronger. And vehicles, even when they are driving backwards, are faster than infantry. So the infantry cannot sometimes get close enough to use their specials against said vehicles. And you basically need other vehicles to keep up. But neither the Americans nor the British forces do really have those vehicles at the beginning. And the moment they are starting to have those, the Africa Corps also start to have stronger vehicles, and they can actually pick the fight, and they can actually work against you. Like, you are getting just pushed around. Wehrmacht, which is the other German faction, is okay. I would say it's on the similar level as the Americans are. Still pretty strong though. But man, the Africa Corps they're unbelievably strong. They have no weakness. They have infantry, they have vehicles, light vehicles, medium vehicles, heavy vehicles, artillery, and they can build it relatively fast. At the moment you have a little bit more control over your units, you can direct them so much easily around the battlefield and punish the other players. It's crazy how easy you can do that, especially when you have the British who don't have that luxury, right? With the British, it's sometimes really hard to just switch from one counter to another, right? If you want to focus on anti-infantry counter, you need completely different units and completely different equipment for that. Whereas with the Africa Corps, I always had the feeling that they can just do it on the fly, right? They can just do it on the fly, and they don't really seem to be too much of a weakness with them right now. And so balance is a huge issue. Another big problem is the moment you are capturing the points on the map, you are falling behind very quickly. And that's fine, right? Like, you want to fall, like, you want that the enemy is falling behind if they make a mistake. That is completely okay, and that's something you should consider. But I have the feeling in Company of Heroes 3, it happens too quickly. Like, if you're losing a point for 1 or 2 minutes, getting that point back is very hard to do. It's very hard to do in comparison. And the enemy gets even more stronger, and they push you even further back. There is no crawling back mechanic, really, and it also feels tough when it comes to reinforce your units, right? Speaking about how strong vehicles are right now, because vehicles can just be repaired on the field, right? Like, they can drive a little bit back behind the front lines, and then they can be repaired. Whereas infantry, when you're focusing on that, you always have to run back most of the time to your headquarters and do the healing there. Yes, the Americans have the captains who can basically be a relay point, right, for that kind of deal. But it's not the same. It's not the same. So I know that some people really don't like Company of Heroes 3 for how it is a little bit easier and a little bit more approachable for new players. As a new player, I do appreciate that, even though I have to say, I don't really think it's approachable. The first 2 games, I was basically just trying to figure out the interface and how to upgrade your units, how to build new buildings, that I have to research in the buildings to then build the units, then to upgrade the units, then to use their special abilities. Like, as a new player, I had not an easy time at all. But with all that said, I appreciate that they are trying to make it a little bit easier on the new players, and that there is more time to just watch the carnage unfold sometimes. But with all that said, I agree with the general sentiment here that right now the balance of Company of Heroes 3 is just not there. And unfortunately, it's the allies who have some serious balance issues right now. I know you're watching this and think, wait a minute, but you have been playing the allies here and you are winning. Yeah, as I said, one of the very rare moments because the other players didn't know how to play the game. This was not because we were playing like the strong faction. It was more like they didn't know what they were doing. They were falling behind the first 10 minutes. And then they couldn't really recover from that. But I will be honest, if they cannot release the multiplayer like this, it is not ready in this state, and I really hope they are taking the time to fix the balance issues. I really do. For me personally, not too important, because I will play it in single player and that's what I'm here for. But I know that there is a very dedicated part of the Company of Heroes community who loves the multiplayer, and they're also not happy right now. Like, after I've been done playing, I was like, okay, let's check the internet if I'm just imagining this, if this is basically just on me, or if this is really like the general consent that the balance is completely out of whack. And it is. So they have to fix that. But with that said, folks, those are my thoughts so far on the Company of Heroes 3 multiplayer beta. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and also consider to subscribe to the channel. If you are interested in building, management, and strategy games, that's exactly what we are doing here on the channel. And there will be more live streams, more videos, of course, Company of Heroes 3 when it comes out, and I would appreciate the support. So don't be a stranger. Stop by, say hi in the live streams, or just subscribe and watch the videos. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.